friends and visitors, I hope you had some time to drink a cup of coffee and open your eyes wider and tune in for a very serious talk that we are going to have. The interest, the anticipation of the report about international production was rather very high. So I think that we will have something to talk about today and something to analyze. Before we start saying not so much nice words about our Russian producers, I'd like to say one thing. This is not just a problem for Russian film industry. It's actually a widespread issue for all academic sciences related to copyright, this kind of thing. It turned out Russia is the country that exports gas and oil more than our brains. And like I said, it concerns not just the film industry, it concerns many other branches of natural sciences. I'd like just to give you one brief example. We, as a very book-centric, so to say, country, we've been raised on classical literature of 19th and 20th century, even the second half of 20th century, and such an important country as we are, we do not influence the global trends. And this tradition that underlies all creative disciplines where we would like to participate and where we would like to show something. The thing is, we are not competitive in these disciplines. We are not leaders in terms of promotion of our Russian intellect on international markets. Well, of course, something can be said on the contrary. Something can be done to improve the situation in terms of legislative framework, in terms of education. And so the main challenge here is not finances, but intellect, even maybe a reset of our educational institutions that were established back in Soviet times, and they are still active today. We are still keeping the records, the archives, such as film and cinema archive for the State Gosteleradyo Fund. We actually had our own film exports that was established a while back, such as international book projects. These projects were inherited by the Russian Federation from the Soviet times, but they have deteriorated greatly. And the generation of people that the powers that be, so to say, they are not very advanced in foreign languages. They're not very keen in studying foreign languages. And so people who are becoming bureaucrats, who are cooperating with their counterparts from different countries, they are not very effective. Whereas our European colleagues, for example, European Union colleagues, they regard this multi-vectoral, multi-directional policy as a standard, because European Union has 27 languages and they are all being used there. And this is something that we could have borrowed from them. Russian language is a rich language with a very long-standing traditions. That's something to be proud of. But we have stopped a bit in our development, we as a nation. And today we are going to discuss why this has happened and what is going on with our institutions and with our cooperation practice. I'm talking about international cooperation here. Sometimes I think that we consider ourselves to be too great to talk with our colleagues from small European countries on the same level. Sometimes I think that we've spent 20 or something years to establish our own market and to set it up. It happened with the TV, with video, with the film, with literature, with everything, basically. And yet, we are almost the only country that has its own search engine. We are probably the only country that today has about 90% of products in film and TV areas that were made in Russia, national products. So right now we are at a threshold. So we have successfully developed our domestic market. And people who are involved in creative areas start to realize that that's not enough, because there are 1.5 billion Chinese people, there are 1.5 billion English speakers around us, 1.4 Spanish speakers, hundreds of thousands of Arabic speakers, and we have something to provide, something to show to them. Yet the underdevelopment of our institutions and the underdevelopment of our competitive force is a major hurdle. Great Russian film directors are not making mainstream products, they're making auteur films. This is what some people say, but I don't really think so, and this is something to talk about today. That's the first part in terms of the film industry. The time has long come to speak about this, not just in film industry, but also in TV and literature areas. We have already spoken many times that we need to diversify our economy, yet there are basically no such mad people who would say, yes, I'm ready to give it a go. Well, there is Anton Malyshev who is trying to do something, but people are trying to stop him, something that any project that he tries to carry out, they tend to shut down mysteriously. So, to my mind, there are no, pushers, so to say, drivers who would bring Russian products on international market. Of course, it is hard to enter the American market, of course. Even if we take a business perspective, it may be a not worth of time spent and money spent, but the American market is not alone. There is China, there is Brazil, and Latin America at large. So we have something to practice on and something to achieve there. These are just my random thoughts that I'd like you to consider about what needs to be done. So we try to gather the experts together and talk about the reasons why, and to discuss what should be first. New generation of managers and producers who see the world as their oyster, as their market, and who are able to say, give me 100,000 euros, I'll bring you 200,000. Because there are no such characters in Russia. There are no such marketing creators who would be promoting these initiatives worldwide. I don't think there is a single person in Russia who can say how profitable this or that market can be. We have very strong historical ties with Western Europe. They are mutually penetrating, so to say, our countries, Germany, Italy, France. So these are the countries that are culturally oriented to Russia, but we are either too great to notice it or not competent enough to do something about it. Well, there are some new steps being taken in the last year and a half. There are some initiatives, successful projects in China, such as Equipage, the Russian movie, that was quite successful in China. But consider China. There is more than 1 billion people who view something on TV, in cinemas, animation. So something happens. But still, there is lots of that needs to be done here. And Europe has long invented this step, because this approach, I'm talking about distribution and co-production here. When I was a producer of an oligarch movie, we agreed with a French co-producer, thus covering all financial matters and all budgetary issues. Everything had been covered. It was a movie by Ingin. I'm talking about both production and post-production stages. And yet, just something for you to consider, to think about. What about the structure? How should it be structured? How can we improve our institutions? How can we teach our new generation of managers and producers? Everything depends on the industry. Bureaucrats, like I am, they are not everyone is very hardcore and set in their ways. Film industry is a very dynamic industry that can change something. There are great directors and animation directors who can promote their opinion, who can lobby things. So this is how our film industry has shaped, actually. This is a guild of film directors and producers. This is the part of civil society that can change something. It's harder for poets or designers, but your industry is much more effective in this regard. So that's it for me, I think, because I can see puzzled faces. Well, it's not too bad. We're still developing. Film industry is still there. It's still kicking, and sometimes we actually have good products, good films. Not as many as we would like, and not as competitive as we would have liked. But we're still winning some international awards and prizes. I think 2014 and early 2015 was rather successful. Well, it's a little bit worse with mainstream, but it's better with animation. And now I'd like to give the floor to my colleague, Ms. Suzanne Nikolchev, who is Executive Director of European Audiovisual Observatory. Well, I didn't introduce myself, actually. I'm sorry. I represent the Russian Federation in this European institution that is under the Council of Europe. So the Russian Federation, as any member state, pays its fees every year, just as we do in other international European organizations. We are paying because we would like our TV industry and people working in audiovisual industry would get a first-hand experience and knowledge about legislation, trends, developments of film industry and film markets, cinema markets. And not just films, but also media and also development of European media companies. Very soon we are going to have a conference in Brussels that is organized under the auspice of European Audiovisual Observatory. It will be dedicated on the issues regarding the owners of media companies and media regulators in European companies, and maintaining and preserving the freedom of speech that underpins any legislative initiative. The law shouldn't stifle the freedom of speech. That's what we are going to talk about. Well, this observatory is not dealing just with the film industry, it's dealing with other areas such as media as well. So I'd like to give the floor now to Ms. Susan Nikolcher.